Hey guys, it's Nate with your Fenton Training Minutes. Today we're going to talk about ground ladders. We carry duo safety ground ladders on majority of our trucks. They can be identified by the solid beam, smooth on the outside surface. A lot of times other departments may carry Alkalite ladders. Those are identified by the ridged beam section. The duo safety ladders are typically a little bit lighter, a little bit more manageable for single person throws. Another thing that we want to look at with our ground ladders when it comes to checking our equipment every day is that the halyard is tied off on just the bed section of the ladder. What that does is it enables us to go into a raise without having to untie anything off the fly section of the ladder. Just makes for a quicker deployment. Another thing that we want to look at and make sure during our truck checks is that our balance point is clearly marked. On this, since it's stored inside a compartment in the back of 1312, we have it marked with a Sharpie. If it's exposed to the elements, sometimes it's a little bit easier to mark it with a piece of electrical tape or something that may stand out and be a little bit more sturdy with some of the elements exposed outside. So now we're going to talk about a two-person ladder carry. A lot of times you see two people carrying it, either low shoulder or both high shoulder. What we're going to talk about here is the low-high carry. You see the position that Captain Evard has is his hand is just grabbing just the butt end of the ladder. And you have Mitch down here, he's high shoulder on his end of the ladder. You want to, if you can, have your shortest person up front, your tallest person towards the back of the ladder. And then we'll go straight into the raise. And as you'll see as they walk around and approach their spot, person's job is to find their position or where they feel is best to deploy that ladder. Once he places it on the ground, he can go straight into the raise off of the beam. It's just one fluid motion. There's no stopping, there's no readjusting, there's no getting the shoulder off, the ladder off your shoulder and then up. It's just one motion up to the raise. So now we're going to talk about a single person carry. And a lot of times you'll see a single person low shoulder carry. Today we're going to talk about single person high shoulder carries, specifically how to get that ladder into the high shoulder position. The high shoulder position enables us to kind of get that ladder stuck and pivot it up to the raise a little bit easier than the low shoulder, but it is preference. If you prefer low shoulder carry works just fine. It's about being proficient at what you're good at. What Doug is going to demonstrate for us is one option for getting that shoulder off the ground into a high position. It is a ladder flip. It's more of a ladder flip method. A lot of it starts with hand positioning on that ladder. You notice he has the fly section out, his hands will get positioned on the rungs, and he's going to go right into a flip to get it high on his shoulder. And we'll let Doug demonstrate that for us now. This option does take a lot more practice. It is a little bit complicated with hand positioning and getting that flip down and timed correctly, but it is an option for getting your shoulder from the ground to a high shoulder position. So now we're going to talk about another option for the high shoulder carry. If you come across your ladder, you've just pulled it out of your rear compartment like on 1345 or 1312, or the ladder sitting on the ground coming off the ladder rack, and you need to get it to the high shoulder position. This is what I call the ladder clean. It's a little bit simpler than the ladder flip. What you do is you get that ladder kind of mid-waist level, and then it's just a clean up to your shoulder. And that's what Mitch is going to demonstrate for us now. You'll see his first step is getting it kind of right at thigh level, waist level, and then he'll clean it up to his shoulder. It's just popping that ladder up onto your shoulder. It's a real quick, simple move, but again, it keeps us in that high shoulder position, which makes it real easy to pivot that ladder for the raise. So now we're going to talk about placement and extension of the ladder. Mitch already has the ladder high shoulder. What this does for us being high shoulder is it gives us a little bit steeper angle to get the butt or the feet of the ladder down. What can happen if we're not sticking into a grassy surface, if we're sticking our ladder on concrete, if you don't have a steep enough angle when you go to place the feet of the ladder, it can want to skip across that concrete or the hard surface. So being high shoulder gives us a little bit more angle to get that ladder to stick and kind of pop off of our shoulder and into the raise. So Mitch will go into the raise and you'll see kind of takes a little bit more aggressive, steeper approach, pops it off of his shoulder, and then he's ready to play. when we talk about ladder placement, we'll see we're going sill high for this window. I'm a big fan of sill high for majority of our operations, even if we're just ventilating that window. What that does is it always creates an egress point for us. The ladder will always be ready for us to use if we have to come out that ladder or go in through that window off of that ladder. We won't have to adjust anything. We won't have to raise or lower the ladder. We won't have to remove it from the building. Another option we have once it's already placed in sill high, if we need to go right or left from the window for ventilation, we can just do a ladder roll, and that's what Mitch will demonstrate now. It's just rolling it over one spot. Now we're just to the right of that ladder. If you talk to Duo Safety and you discuss fly in or fly out and operating off the ladder, what you'll find from them is they say that any reduction in safety parameters or weight restrictions is negligible, fly in or fly out. Both offer an equal number of benefit and will operate within safe weight rating parameters. So now we're going to talk about single person extension. This is once you've got the ladder off, high shoulder, pivoted up, and you're in your spot where you're ready to now raise your ladder. As always, we want to first check for overhead obstructions. We want to make sure we're not going to run into any high voltage power lines or things that would cause us any danger. Specifically, what we want to look at with Captain Evard is his positioning. So this is a single person raise, so he's going to be doing all of it by himself. You'll notice his foot first. The placement of his foot is on the back of the ladder. It's holding it in place and keeping that ladder from kicking out towards the back or away from him. And then you'll notice shoulder placement. He has his shoulder placed into the bed section of that ladder. That's balancing and kind of keeping everything pulled together into him. If for some reason this ladder were to move out like that, he can just grab the halyard, pull it right back into his shoulder. This ladder would want to kick, his foot is there to keep it from kicking out. Once we're placed like that, he's set up in the proper position, he can go straight into his raise. That's a single person raise. So now we're going to talk about tying the halyard, which is a simple process that we use the clove hitch for, but Dave's going to show you a quick way to keep your landmarks. A lot of times that can be one of the things that we lose track of is the landmarks of our clove hitch itself. See how he passes his hand under there, grabs that? That gives a clear landmark to help keep in place that clove hitch. It just makes tying it real quick and easy. We'll give you another perspective from his point of view. Just a quick way to get your halyard tied and ensure that the clove hitch is tied correctly and in its proper place. So now we're going to talk about securing the ladder. Sometimes both members of a crew get committed to a task, especially in a VEIS scenario where you have one crew searching inside and the captain with the thermal imager at the top of the ladder. You're left with how do we secure this ladder and keep the situation and the scene safe. So one option we have for that is using a Halligan and a loop of webbing. What you can do is if you have grass or concrete, a lot of times on concrete where it meets up, it meets the actual building itself, you'll end up with this small gap. You can fix this Halligan and kind of get it down in there. Take a sledgehammer or your flathead axe, drive it down in there to get it secured well. Or if it's grass, get it driven into the ground. It'll provide some security for you to tie your loop of webbing on. All you got to do is do a girth hitch with your webbing. Bring it back up. We're going to scoot this ladder in just a little bit. And then a simple clove hitch around will give us something to secure the base of this ladder to where it's better than it not being secured at all. But it will prevent it from, provides a little bit of stability, keeps it snugged up against the building. One less thing we have to worry about is that ladder kicking out. All right, we're going to talk now about carrying two ladders at one time. It's a situation or scenario that may not come up very often. but in the chance that it does come up and one person has to carry 2 ladders, this is just an option for that. You can carry the extension ladder high shoulder or low shoulder. What I've found and what we've found is that a lot of times that low shoulder with your second ladder adds for a little bit more stability. It makes it a little bit easier to manage having 2 ladders. So Mitch is going to show one option for getting the extension ladder onto your shoulder. It's a ladder slide method. You pick it up and you just kind of slide up to that balance point that we have marked. Once he's up to that balance point, he's going to transition to a low shoulder carry. Once he has the extension ladder low shoulder carry, he's going to kneel down to the prepared single section roof ladder and just suitcase carry that. So it's 2 ladders shouldered, can take it around to the Charlie side of a building or wherever we get assigned to deploy ladders. So last thing we're going to talk about is one more option for carrying or transporting 2 ladders. And it involves marrying your extension ladder with your roof ladder. The first part is prepping everything out. Have the equipment that you're going to take with you, your roof ladder set up with your hooks out. After that, we're going to move over to our extension ladder. We're going to pick it up, and you'll see it slides right into line with our roof ladder, where it all marries up, hooks are out to hold it. Mitch is placing our saws for us in there for transport. And then we can throw a hook and Halligan in as well. And then all you have to do is drag this setup wherever we're being assigned ventilation or whatever task it may be that we've been called to on the fire scene. Just another option for transporting, moving 2 ladders, so you have all your tools with you wherever you go.